can hear the drums in the distance. I can feel the fear, the resistance.
How do you see the fight going? Gilbert Yvel, stand-up fighter, you want to take it to the ground or you're just going to trade shots?
I don't know. I never know what I'm going to do. I just get out there and shoot from the hip.
Your instincts don't think. Trust me, everything can change in a blink. Hearts race, I can feel my heart pounding. Hold our heads up and this the chant we'll be shouting.
Being here in the MGM and people start to recognize me, like people follow me on Twitter and it's like, yeah, it's like...
I'm the only one who can save me. So stand strong, stand tall, stay up, don't fall. Give it everything you got, no fears, no walls. Just fight, no lies, push yourself to the limit. It's the fight for it all.
In 2004, Britney Spears was named the sexiest woman, and Andriy Shevchenko was recognized as the best football player in the world.
Pulling it back, Shevchenko! Yes! Andriy Shevchenko scores! And he deserves that for all his hard work and effort!
However, in the world of MMA, on November 13, 2004, a referee in Finland thought that he would have just another ordinary day in the office, but before he knew it, he was viciously knocked out by an athlete. There are millions of MMA fighters and practitioners worldwide, but only a few managed to cement their status in MMA history and had fans talk about them for years.
Thank you all for the support.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Some of them, like Fedor or GSP, are remembered for their dominance and superiority.
Fedor, Emelianenko, my best favorite of all time. He's always the underdog, he's always the smallest guy, and he always comes out victorious.
Look, George St. Pierre, he took 4 years off and everything like that, but he's still one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, and you saw that in that fight.
Yeah. Others like Chael Sonnen, due to their persona on the microphone. Finally, there are some that fans will always talk about how unusually crazy and unsportsmanlike they were, especially those few who assaulted a referee. Meet one of the most controversial and unsportsmanlike MMA fighters of all time, Gilbert Yvel, an athlete that not only attacked a referee, but knocked him down and even kicked him while he was on the canvas. His nickname, the Hurricane, completely fits the description considering all the bad, lousy conduct Gilbert Yvel was involved in. Although he has an incredible MMA record of 40 victories. 34 of which were won by knockout, Gilbert Yvel will always be remembered for his temper and poor sportsmanship in the ring earlier in his career. We will take a closer look at who Gilbert Yvel is and how he cemented his status in MMA as one of the most insane athletes in this sport. There are 3 hazardous types of individuals in this world, besides your wife, after telling her that she is exactly like her mother. This includes Brazilian grapplers, Russian Dagestani wrestlers, and Dutch kickboxers. Gilbert Yvel belongs to the last type mentioned. He was born and raised in Holland to parents of Surinamese and Haitian descent, where practicing kickboxing made him a superior striker who was knocking his opponents out cold.
And he will blast away.
Gilbert Yvel done the job. Grant's got to get in there and intervene, and he does. Perfect.
His early childhood was rough, considering he was raised as an orphan. Growing up without his parents' love and support made him a cold-blooded and relentless fighter who wouldn't care what harm he would do to his opponents, whether it was biting or eye gouging. If you think John Jones is an example of misconduct, just take a look at what Gilbert Yvel has done during his MMA career. In May 1998, just 1 year after Mike Tyson was disqualified for biting Evander Holyfield's ear in boxing.
You bit this ear. Wasn't it the same one? No, it's a difference. It's a difference.
Mike was having his best round.
He bit him again.
Gilbert took advice from Tyson's book, implementing the biting strategy in the ring. In a bout against Karimula Barkalaev, Yvel was disqualified for biting his opponent.
Укус? Или мне кажется, укус? Явно укус. Посмотрите, зубы отпечатались. Это, я так понимаю, что в мире единоборств появился новый Гилберт. Послушайте, вот так вот.
Нарушал правила. Поэтому голландский боец
Вот все правильно, все закономерно.
3 years later, in 2001, in a fight against the UFC veteran Don Fry, Gilbert repeatedly poked Fry's eyes and got disqualified as well.
Putting that thumb shooting along again. Yep. And Don Fry, okay, that's it.
That's it. Gilbert lost.
Disqualification.
And finally, if you think these two misconducts were crazy, how about Yvel's November 2004 bout against Backman? Yvel and Backman were falling over the ropes, and as the ref tried to guide the fighters back together, Yvel's temper was running short. Gilbert was annoyed by the referee's attempts to restart the fight in the clinched position. After several unsuccessful attempts to get them to the needed clinched position, Yvel sucker punched the referee in the head. An ordinary man cannot withstand being hit by a professional fighter in the head. The poor victim was down to the canvas, and if that wasn't enough, Gilbert kicked him while he was down. In a matter of 6 years, this was Yvel's third disqualification. However, regardless of his bad behavior and misconduct, let's not forget that Gilbert Yvel is an elite martial artist that was one of the most feared athletes on the feet. His MMA career is nothing but spectacular, and during his time, he delivered one of the scariest knockouts in MMA history. Although fans remember him as a problematic individual struggling to follow the rules, he left a legacy that is only admirable. Let's look at Yvel's MMA career and see why he was one of the most feared fighters of his time. Gilbert Yvel made his MMA debut on February 2, 1997. He made a statement by dominating Rob Van Leeuwen, forcing his corner to stop the fight.
All the punches, knees, kicking. Very good. Gilbert Yvel, winner.
During the same year, Yvel fought 5 more times, knocking out everyone, most of which were first-round knockouts. He used his kickboxing credentials to dominate his opponents, choosing knees and kicks as the primary choice of weapons, delivering deadly blows that his opponents could not withstand. On February 8, 1998, he started the year with a submission victory over his fellow Dutch compatriot, Bob Schreiber. By executing a beautiful Achilles lock submission, Gilbert showed everyone that he is not just a striker, but someone who can also end a fight on the ground. In the next MMA bout, under modified rules, Yvel defeated Algirdas Darulis after delivering 3 knockdowns. However, during the same night, in a rematch against Bob Schreiber, he tasted defeat for the first time. Although Gilbert defeated Schreiber via submission earlier, the Dutch kickboxer retaliated via first-round KO victory over Yvel, tying the score between them.
Yeah,
what do you recall about fighting Bob Schreiber?
Bob Schreiber's first fight was like any other fight. You know, just go in there and give him your best knees and beat him up.
During the same year, 1998, Gilbert met his biological mother. After receiving his first loss in MMA, the Hurricane was scheduled to fight the Russian fighter Karimula Barkalayev on May 23, 1998. Even though Yvel dominated the match, he was disqualified after Barkalayev's coach, Volk Han, notified the referee that Yvel had illegally bitten his fighter. Gilbert quickly returned to his winning streak, defeating Alistair's brother, Valentin Overeem, who lost the bout due to injury. In the next bout against Lee Hasdell, Yvel forced the referee to stop the fight and save his opponent from taking any further punishment. The following year, the Hurricane displayed his superior kickboxing skills by brutally knocking out Big Mo T via a vicious flying knee. Just a month later, he used his knee as the primary weapon again, knocking out Todd Medina in only 10 seconds. In April 1999, Yvel was called to Japan by Rings, where he was scheduled to face Tsuyoshi Kosaka. Yvel, being Yvel, struggled against the rules and was 5 points behind due to multiple fouls like hitting his opponent's face on the ground, striking him on the knees, and grabbing the ropes. Nevertheless, the Dutch fighter prevailed and came victorious after delivering accumulated punishment to Kosaka's face.
これは
On June 20th, 1999, Yvel was back to Holland to face the K1 legend Semi Schilt in a bout under special rules, where Gilbert kept his gloves for punching while Schilt preferred to go barehanded, using open palm strikes like it was done under Pancrase. Although Schilt was a favorite in that fight, from the opening minutes, Yvel showed he was not there to joke around and delivered a shocking knockdown by a flurry of hooks. The K1 legend recovered and tried to end the contest by submitting his compatriot, but Yvel's defense was on point and he managed to survive. Arguably using a dirty trick by gouging Schilt's eye, which the referee dismissed, Gilbert bloodied Schilt's eye, which led to several grinding assaults. Finally, the stoppage came after Yvel delivered several unanswered punches, knocking Schilt out on his feet. He returned to Japan to rematch Tsuyoshi Kosaka, but this time he lost by a controversial decision. After both fell outside the ring, the fight was initially declared a no contest, and later ruled in favor of Kosaka. Since Yvel had lost a point before, and the Japanese fighter hadn't lost any of them, he won his next bout against Fabio Piemonte via first-round TKO.
Well, the ref is going to pull him off.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
I think the ref should have stopped that one just a little bit sooner.
And obliterated Dennis Reed with a vicious flying knee within one round. On December 22, 1999, once again, Yvel displayed his grappling skills by submitting karate champion Tariel Bitsadze by armbar in the first round. During the same night, he avenged his loss against Tsuyoshi Kosaka by forcing the doctor to stop the fight. The Hurricane won his next bout against Jupe Castile by delivering palm strikes. But then he was matched against the UFC legend and superior Olympic wrestler Dan Henderson. The American knew precisely what he needed to do to win that contest. He knew that going toe-to-toe against the Dutch kickboxer might not be an intelligent thing to do, so he used his wrestling superiority to control the fight and neutralize Yvel's attacks. Gilbert was visibly frustrated and even got a yellow card due to elbowing Henderson's spine. Despite landing some solid shots at the end, it was too late to turn the tables, and Henderson was declared the winner. In the following month, the Hurricane had easy work in the office, knocking Brian Dunn in the first round. In the next bout, he beat Kiyoshi Tamura via first-round TKO to win the Rings Open Weight Championship. Yvel later vacated the title since he signed with Pride FC and was welcomed by the MMA veteran Vitor Belfort.
You know, keep your faith in the Lord and everything be cool.
Vitor was a tough pill to swallow, and the Dutch fighter was once again defeated via unanimous decision.
Both of them actually got there.
No question. Yep. Vitor Belfort. No question. Vitor Belfort is back. Now that's a big...
Nevertheless, Gilbert rebounded again when he faced Gary Goodridge in his second bout with this organization. The Hurricane scored one of the scariest knockouts in MMA history by landing a massive high kick that knocked Goodridge out cold.
With Vitor Belfort, we came right out to a kick and got taken down immediately.
That was a high kick knockout that would make even Crow Cop jealous. The run in Pride was not as impressive as some expected. He lost 3 times in the next 4 bouts with this organization and got one no contest against Wanderlei Silva.
Good. Nice low kick by Gilbert Yvel. You can hear that hit his cup. Hit him right on the cup, the explosive sound.
The 3 losses were by Kazuyuki Fujita, who defeated the Dutch fighter via unanimous decision.
Being administered. Okay, here we go. Gilbert trying to stand back up, and Fujita lifting him over his head and slamming him to the ground, and Gilbert still.
Igor Vovchanchin, who used his Sambo credentials and submitted Yvel via rear naked choke.
Now he should twist to the left, that's it. He's
got him out now. He's gonna, he can't turn his back because Igor's going to put the, oh, he's going to go for a choke. If Vovchanchin goes for a choke, I'm going to be a monkey's uncle.
And finally, lost another fight due to disqualification, this time against Don Frye. As previously mentioned, to avoid being wrestled to the mat, Yvel repeatedly raked his fingers across Frye's face, pushed his thumb into Frye's eyes, and got disqualified as a result.
Yep. And Don Frye, okay, that's it. That's it. Gilbert lost. Disqualification.
During these years, he fought outside Pride and delivered another outstanding flying knee KO against Carlos Barreto. 2 months after losing to Frye, Yvel displayed his grappling skills against Ibrahim Magomedov, defeating him via submission, and on March 2002, he forced the doctor to stop the bout against Bob Schreiber, scoring another TKO victory. Although he lost against Jeremy Horn next,
But he gets up, he is so strong. Look at this.
and scored a draw against Daniel Tabera, Yvel returned in style, defeating the UFC veteran Chike Congo via second-round TKO.
Congo hasn't got a hope of getting that technique on.
Oh, well, a good bit of ground and pound now.
I think that's it!
In the next bout, the highlight of his bad misconduct arrived when he fought At Backman and knocked down the referee in the process. In the following year, he lost to Ikuhisa Minowa via submission, but returned victorious against Valentin Overeem, finishing Alistair's brother via armbar. Yvel returned to Pride only to be viciously knocked out by the Russian fighter Roman Zensov.
Another nice backdoor escape. Wow. Second time tonight. Good knee. Oh, he gets rocked.
But after that loss, he went on a 7-fight unbeaten streak, winning 6 by knockout and 1 via submission. He finished them all in the first round, except for Michal Kita, whom Yvel knocked out in the second. Although he lost to Josh Barnett, who was too much for the Dutch fighter to handle, he returned spectacularly against the UFC veteran Pedro Rizzo, knocking him out in the first round. Being 8-1 in his last 9 fights was enough reason to sign Gilbert Yvel with the most elite MMA organization in the world, the UFC. The Hurricane had an unfortunate run with this organization. On January 2nd, 2010, he was welcomed by Prime Junior Dos Santos.
I know Gilbert Yvel is a very big, strong, powerful, experienced fighter. And after I beat him, it'll put me into title contention.
Who knocked him out in the first round.
UFC prelims. Oh! Down goes Yvel! Dos Santos looking to finish! Yvel's in big trouble!
He lost his next 2 bouts with the organization against Ben Rothwell and John Madsen before the company released him. Gilbert Yvel fought 4 more times, winning against well-known fighters like Houston Alexander, Rico Rodriguez, and Mighty Mo, before retiring from the sport with an impressive record of 40 victories and 16 defeats. Gilbert Yvel is an unusual fighter with a fantastic MMA career that his bad temper and poor sportsmanship will always overshadow. Nevertheless, the scary knockouts he delivered and the highlight reels he left behind will always remind the fans that he was more than a rebel.